Let me ask you something. Have you ever ruined your entire mood because of one cold reply, one strange tone, or one moment of silence? Suddenly, your mind starts overthinking everything. Did I do something wrong? Are they upset with me? And the scary part is, sometimes nothing actually happened at all. But when you take everything personally, even small moments can become emotional pain. Some people live like this for years without realizing it. They blame themselves too quickly, carry emotions that were never theirs to carry, and slowly become emotionally exhausted. But what if the real problem is not other people, but the habit of making everything about yourself? In this episode, you will improve your English listening skills while learning how to stop overthinking people and finally protect your peace. And if this lesson gave you something useful, I'd love it if you tapped like and subscribe to the channel. It helps you stay connected, and it also helps this little learning community grow. Every click really does make a difference. With love, let's dive in. Why do we assume everything is about us? The human mind naturally searches for meaning, especially emotional meaning. When someone suddenly becomes quiet, cold, or different, your brain immediately tries to explain it. And sadly, many people automatically blame themselves first. This happens because the mind wants certainty. Uncertainty feels uncomfortable, so your thoughts quickly create a personal explanation, even when there is no real evidence. A friend looks distracted, and you think they are upset with you. Someone gives short answers, and you assume they secretly dislike you. But people carry invisible battles every day that have nothing to do with you. Stress, anxiety, family problems, emotional exhaustion. All of these can affect how people behave. The problem is not only what others do. The real problem is how quickly we turn their behavior into a judgment about our worth. And over time, this habit becomes emotionally draining. You begin walking through life feeling responsible for everyone's mood, energy, and reactions around you. What if their behavior is about their pain? Sometimes people project emotions they have never learned how to process. Instead of facing their stress, sadness, insecurity, or anger directly, they unconsciously release it onto the people around them. This is why emotionally hurt people often criticize more, react more aggressively, or become emotionally distant without explanation. Their inner chaos leaks into their relationships. And unfortunately, sensitive people often absorb that energy deeply. They start carrying emotional weight that never belonged to them in the first place. But understanding projection changes everything. It helps you realize that another person's bad mood is not always a reflection of your value. Someone can love you and still speak harshly when they are overwhelmed. Someone can care about you and still struggle emotionally. This does not mean you should accept disrespect. But it does mean you should stop automatically turning every negative reaction into self-hatred. Emotional maturity begins when you learn to observe behavior without immediately attacking yourself internally. Why do certain words hurt so much? Not every comment hurts equally, and that is important to understand. Sometimes one small sentence affects you deeply because it touches an old emotional wound that already exists inside you. Maybe criticism hurts because you spent years trying to feel accepted. Maybe rejection feels unbearable because you secretly fear abandonment. Maybe silence makes you anxious because you learn to associate distance with emotional danger. In many situations, the pain is not only coming from the present moment. The present moment is waking up feelings that were already sleeping inside you. And this realization can completely change the way you see emotional reactions. Instead of asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" you begin asking, "Why does this affect me so strongly?" That question creates self-awareness instead of emotional panic. Healing starts when you stop fighting your emotions blindly and start understanding where they truly come from. Awareness transforms emotional suffering into emotional growth. Why is pausing so powerful? Most emotional damage happens too quickly. Someone says something painful, and immediately your mind reacts. Your emotions rise fast, your heart feels heavy, and suddenly you are trapped inside overthinking. But there is something incredibly powerful hidden in the small space before reacting. That pause can protect your peace. When you pause, you give yourself time to separate facts from emotional assumptions. You stop your mind from instantly creating dramatic stories. Instead of reacting emotionally, you begin observing calmly. Maybe their tone was not actually anger. Maybe their silence was exhaustion. Maybe the situation is not as personal as your emotions first made it feel. This simple habit changes relationships, confidence, and emotional stability in a huge way. Emotionally strong people are not people who never feel hurt. They are people who learned how to slow down before letting emotions control their thoughts completely. And often, that small pause is the difference between suffering unnecessarily and staying emotionally free. Why does anxiety make everything feel personal? Anxiety changes the way you interpret reality. When your mind is anxious, it becomes extremely sensitive to small changes in people's behavior. A delayed message feels suspicious. A short reply feels cold. A different tone suddenly feels threatening. Anxiety constantly searches for danger, even in normal situations. And because of that, emotionally tired people often personalize things that were never personal in the first place. The mind begins connecting unrelated events and creating painful conclusions. But grounding yourself in the present moment can interrupt this spiral. Instead of assuming, you pause and ask yourself, what facts do I actually know right now? Usually, the facts are much calmer than the emotional story inside your head. Presence helps you return to reality instead of living inside fear-based interpretations. And the more present you become, the less power anxiety has over your emotions. Peace grows when you stop treating every uncomfortable feeling as proof that something is wrong with you. Why do you carry emotions that aren't yours? Many kind people accidentally become emotional caretakers for everyone around them. They feel responsible when others are upset, disappointed, stressed, or angry. If someone around them feels bad, they immediately try to fix the situation, even when they did nothing wrong. Over time, this creates emotional exhaustion because they begin carrying emotions that never belong to them. But being compassionate does not mean becoming emotionally responsible for everyone else's inner world. You can support people without absorbing their pain completely. You can care deeply without destroying your own peace in the process. This is an important emotional boundary that many people never learn. Someone else's frustration is not automatically your failure. Someone else's sadness is not always your responsibility to solve. Emotional freedom begins when you stop confusing empathy with self-sacrifice. You are allowed to protect your energy while still remaining a kind and caring person. Healthy boundaries are not selfish. They are necessary. Why does criticism feel like rejection? One of the biggest emotional mistakes people make is connecting feedback directly to their identity. If someone dislikes one action, they immediately feel personally rejected as a human being. But feedback and self-worth are not the same thing. A mistake does not define your value. Someone disagreeing with you does not erase your goodness. And criticism does not automatically mean failure. Emotionally mature people learn how to separate what they do from who they are. This creates incredible emotional stability because they stop collapsing every time someone disapproves of them. Of course, criticism can still hurt sometimes, especially when it is unfair or harsh. But when your identity becomes stronger, other people's opinions lose the power to emotionally destroy you. You begin listening without instantly becoming defensive. You begin learning without feeling ashamed. And slowly, you stop needing constant approval just to feel okay inside. That is real confidence, calm self-respect that survives discomfort and disagreement. Why does rejection feel so heavy? Rejection hurts because humans naturally want connection, understanding, and belonging. But many people make rejection mean something much deeper than it actually does. They turn one disappointment into a complete judgment about themselves. If someone leaves, they think they are unlovable. If someone disagrees, they think they are inadequate. But rejection is often about compatibility, timing, emotional readiness, or personal preference, not your worth as a person. Not everyone is meant to fully understand you, connect with you, or walk beside you forever. And that is not a tragedy. It is part of life. Emotionally healthy people stop personalizing every disconnect. Instead, they focus on alignment. They understand that forcing acceptance from everyone only creates suffering. Real peace comes when you stop chasing universal approval and start valuing authentic connection instead, because your value does not decrease simply because someone else cannot recognize it. The right people will not require you to constantly prove your worth. Why are you always explaining yourself? Many people spend their lives over-explaining themselves because they are secretly afraid of being misunderstood. They feel the need to defend every decision, justify every boundary, and clarify every emotion. Deep inside, they hope that if people finally understand them perfectly, they will finally feel accepted. But constantly explaining yourself can become emotionally exhausting. Sometimes it is not communication anymore. It is fear. Fear of judgment, rejection, or criticism. And the truth is, no matter how carefully you explain yourself, some people will still misunderstand you through the lens of their own beliefs and emotions. That is something you cannot fully control. Emotional peace grows when you stop trying to manage everyone's perception of you. You do not need endless explanations to validate your feelings, your choices, or your boundaries. The people who genuinely care will try to understand you with openness, and the people committed to misunderstanding you would probably do it no matter how perfectly you speak. Why does silence feel so threatening? For many people, silence immediately creates anxiety. If someone becomes quiet, distant, or less expressive, the mind quickly starts imagining rejection or emotional danger. But silence does not always mean something negative. Sometimes people are tired. Sometimes they are mentally overwhelmed. Sometimes they simply need space to process their own emotions privately. The problem is that overthinkers often fill silence with painful assumptions before asking for clarity or waiting for understanding naturally. And this creates unnecessary emotional suffering. Learning not to personalize silence is incredibly freeing because it teaches your nervous system to stay calm even when certainty is missing. Not every pause means abandonment. Not every change in energy means someone secretly dislikes you. Emotional maturity means becoming comfortable with temporary uncertainty instead of immediately panicking emotionally. When your mind stops creating dramatic meanings for every quiet moment, your relationships become healthier, calmer, and less emotionally exhausting for both you and the people around you. Why is your self-worth so fragile? When your self-worth depends heavily on other people's reactions, life becomes emotionally dangerous. Praise makes you feel valuable, but criticism suddenly makes you feel worthless. Approval lifts you up, but rejection destroys your confidence. This emotional instability happens when your identity is built more on external validation than inner self-respect. And sadly, many people never notice how much control they have given away emotionally. They allow strangers, friends, family members, or social media opinions to decide how they feel about themselves every day. But true confidence is quieter than that. Real self-worth stays steady even when others misunderstand you sometimes. It allows you to listen, learn, improve, and grow without emotionally collapsing. And this does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. It simply means your value is no longer completely controlled by outside opinions. The stronger your relationship with yourself becomes, the less personal every disagreement, criticism, or emotional reaction from others will feel inside your heart. What happens when you finally stop taking everything personally? Something beautiful begins to happen when you stop personalizing every interaction. Your mind becomes quieter, your relationships become less stressful, and emotionally, you finally start breathing differently. You stop replaying conversations for hours. You stop searching for hidden meanings inside every message, facial expression, or tone of voice. Instead of assuming rejection automatically, you begin giving people space to simply be human. And at the same time, you give yourself permission to exist without constantly proving your worth. This emotional freedom changes your energy completely. You become calmer during conflict, less reactive during discomfort, and more focused on reality instead of fear-based interpretations. Life feels lighter because your mind is no longer carrying emotional weight that never belonged to you. Of course, you will still feel emotions sometimes. You are human, but emotions stop controlling your entire identity. And slowly, peace replaces the constant emotional tension that once followed you everywhere. What if peace begins with this one decision? Maybe real emotional healing does not begin when the world changes. Maybe it begins when you stop making yourself the center of every painful situation. Not every silence is rejection. Not every criticism is hatred. Not every distance is abandonment. And not every emotional reaction around you is your responsibility to carry. Sometimes people are simply struggling with themselves quietly. Sometimes life feels heavy for reasons you cannot see. And sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is learning not to absorb everything emotionally. Imagine how different your life could feel if you stopped turning every uncomfortable moment into proof that something is wrong with you. Imagine how peaceful your mind could become if you learned to pause, breathe, observe, and release what does not belong to you emotionally. That is the lesson hidden inside this episode. And maybe the moment you stop taking everything personally is the exact moment you finally begin protecting your peace properly for the very first time. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next lesson. Your support means so much. It keeps this space alive and growing. With love. Thank you for being here, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you.